wanna be like us, could never be like us. Nobody make me cause go tell him fast if he adjust. Cause if them no adjust, no I go be no force. Just I go be us creepy, no hey push. Another song push, another pile of dust. Another side of us ninja gun and trust. They wanna be like us, but nana and a plus. No from them manna and no fi fly the banner up. They wanna be like
Dub Phizix. We're gonna talk about a big tune later on, but let's get back to it, man. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your past, bro.
Yeah.
That was it 2000.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So did you come like on the back end? Was you part of the jungle scene?
Not really. No. Bits of everything. I was in a band at school. And I'd rather do it on my own. I'm a bit selfish like that, as these lot tell you. And I think I just wanted to make music on my own. So electronic music was obviously the easiest way to do it, and drum and bass was just a natural progression, really.
So what was the first tunes that actually led you into that progression of electronica for you?
I don't know really. Like I used to listen to One in the Jungle when I was a kid, but then a lot of early Ed Rush and Optical stuff, so Bacteria, Gas Mask, that was the stuff that made me think I want to make drum and bass. But then later on, Fabio, I used to batter Fabio's tapes, so stuff like early Marcus Intellect stuff, so How You Make Me Feel, Universe and things like that. I don't know really. Early Blue Sonics, Carly and Addiction.
The reason why I'm asking is like your drum and bass is minimal, if that's fair to say, yeah.
Yeah, well, yes, I suppose it's been called.
But you've taken it to another level, like say with tunes like Marker, for instance. You know what I mean, where people would have heard that, could have heard that like 5-6 years ago, and been like, nah, I'm not feeling that at all.
Yeah,
but
well,
now it's quite.
It goes in waves, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? I've just been lucky that I've come at a time. People start to notice my music at a time when it's relevant.
But don't you find it's like more? You've been consistent though. That's why I'm just asking. Like, your
influences. Possibly, yeah. But then I think you naturally change all the time anyway, don't you?
Okay.
In that whatever you're making, whatever's. I always try and take my influences from things outside of drum and bass and jungle. So if I, working with the other people I work with, that's kind of changed my music over time. So although it might have always had a general kind of style, it's all it's the things that have influenced it have changed. The way I've approached the music's the same, but the things that have influenced it have changed. So yeah, I mean the whole minimal thing is just like, to me, dance music is just a groove. And to get a groove, all you really need is drums and bass. So I work those two elements out. And to me, some of my favourite tunes are just drums and bass. Yeah, when you were saying before about tunes that influenced me, Fire and Water by Calibre.
Right.
Drums, bass, few sounds, and it's just fucking wicked. I mean, you can still play that now. It still sounds like it was made yesterday.
Another sound push, another pile of dust, another side of us ninja gun and trust. They wanna be like us, but no.
Let's talk a bit about like working with the companies like MTV and Nokia for music. How did them sort of tracks come? What tracks were actually put into their?
Cockney shit.
Was it?
Yeah. Did a proper shit tune with Skittles for
that. But how did that go about though? Was that a challenge for you to do something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I used to run a studio, so I was always like, people come to the studio and they go, right, I've got this song, but I've got nothing to go with it, can you make me this kind of tune? So I just go, yeah. And I ended up learning to work to a brief. So someone would come in and say, right, I need a house tune that's got this in and that, and it needs to be in this key and this speed, and I'll just go bang and make it. So that when it comes to adverts, that's what you get. You get a brief, and it's like, I want this kind of tune.
Tick the boxes.
Yeah. So there's a guy called John Kay who he runs Eyes Down. He used to work at Fat City. And he's like a Manchester legend in that kind of scene. And I was just chatting to him one day. He said, look, I've started doing this. You're interested in writing for us? So the MTV, 4 Music. What else did I do for him? A few others, Capital Radio as well, I think we did. So every now and again there'll just be a thing comes in. It's like, I think they did Waterloo Road last year for him. So just things will come in, it's just like, can you make this kind of tune? You go, yeah, and you're pitching for it, so you might make something and then another guy might make something. There was one job I got years ago that was make Merry Christmas Everybody by Shakin' Stevens in the style of Girls Aloud. Right, and I spent 4 days making this tune, right, and the guy who actually gave John the job phoned me and he's gone, right, you've smacked this, I'm 90% certain you're going to get it, and I think he belted. I mean, I'm going Christmas shopping and everything. We had a phone call off John 2 days later and he said, I've got some bad news for you. I've not got it, have I? He said, no, the guy from Blackout Crew got it. Now, if you don't know who Blackout Crew are,
I do.
look them up on YouTube. I know. No disrespect to the guy from Blackout Crew or anything, I'm fucking up. That hurts.
Let's talk a bit about the collabs that you've done now, because you know them collabs kind of blow all that sort of, you know what I mean, palaver out the water. So it's Future Cuts and you know.
Yeah. Well, Future Cuts taught me to make drum and bass. I could make tunes, and say probably 2004, I had this tune where I think they saw potential in the tune, but then they were like, you know what, the production's not there. You know, come in with us, let us have a look at it. And I learned more in that week than I think I'd learned in the previous probably 4 years or something before, and that was like, right, that's how you do that, that's how you do that. And from there, that was like a good basis to go on and make drum and bass. So I owe a lot to Darren and Tudor, really.
It's like giving that the foundation of what we know Dub Phizix has today.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah. And Darren was the first guy to play me Rings Around Saturn by Photech, which is probably my favourite drum and bass tune anyway, if there could be one.
Yeah.
That would be the tune.
Because the Photech's it's too
the
sick.
way all that locks together is just like fucking hell. Because I used to think, write a beat, slam a bass line on it, you know what I mean? I'd sit there trying to write bass lines to beats and it never worked.
No.
And when he first played me the tune, I'm listening to the beat and I was like, I can't understand these drums. And then when I listened to the B line, I was like, shit, right, that's how it works. You know what I mean? So then I started to approach it differently in terms of a groove where you write your beats for your bass and vice versa.
Right, yeah,
and that's
intertwine them both.
Yeah, and then you get a groove from it. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah, of course, yeah.
So I think if I hadn't heard that tune, I don't know if I'd be doing what I do now.
So let's talk about other collabs. Take it up to the right to the present now. Just been listening to the new tune there with Fox there. That's absolutely sick. That tune. Codex as well, another big tune. And they've only just gone up in like the last 6 days or something like that.
Yeah, come out 14th of May. Come out. So yeah, like last Monday.
So let's hear about them. What's
Codex's been around for a while. That was originally going to go on Creative Source, which was Fabio's label, and then it ended up where Kazra, the guy who runs Critical, said, can I have it? So I was like, yeah, go on. And we were just going to do that, and I was trying to write a B-side for it for ages, and we couldn't come up with the right thing. And then off the back of Marker, it was like, well, you know, maybe we should do something a bit more that kind of thing. Maybe people want that. So I had this vocal knocking around, and I started messing with the tune. I sent him, and he was like, yeah, cool, let's do this. And I only made the tune like December. I think that's the fastest I've ever made a tune, and it's come out. So yeah, and then that ended up just becoming like the main tune, and then Codex was like a double A.
So we've got a hit on it. Marker, absolutely enough respect for that, enough success for that. You know what I mean? That's just huge, man. Tell us about the song. Tell us about the video. Tell us about the whole concept. Let me just start by saying, was it something that you planned to do and thought yourself, right, this is how we're gonna do it? No,
not at all.
Right.
It was. I was sat in the studio with Johnny, like me and Skeptical have a thing where we just kind of, every few months, me and Skeptical only have been in the studio once together, we've probably made 20 tunes, or we're doing 20 tunes. He lives down south, so it was always like, I originally started talking to him on the internet, it's like, shall we make a tune? We sent a few bits back and forth. They ended up coming out on Dispatch, I think it was our first few. No, Ingredients put our first one out, and then we did a 12 on Dispatch. And then we had this thing where we'd send like 5 starts of tunes to each other. And we just had folders, and then whenever we sat in the studio and nothing to do, we just get one of these folders out, have a look in there, make a tune. And Marco was just one of them, and I just happened to be sat in the studio with Strategy, and he murmured all over it. And the rest is history, as we say.
So, tell us about the actual. Was it? Because I don't really understand if it, you know, when things like this just come about. It's like, nah, it just happened, you know. This guy just walked.
Nah, honestly, it did. We'd done a mix. I think we did a mix for K-Mag, and we just sat in the studio after. We finished the mix, and we sent it off, and we like, should we make a tune? We got these bits out. I was going through this stuff, and I was like, we'll mess with this. Johnny recorded the vocal down, we just moved it around a little bit, found a thing where it dropped nicely, and it did that, and it was just like, right, cool. And for ages, me and Skeptical were playing it about, and it was just like, this is just a bit of an odd tune. And then, then it just kind of, people started going mad about it. So.
We're chasing states, playing it all over the place.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Rodigan and that.
Rodigan, that's, you know what I mean? Can't get much bigger than that, can you?
That's what I mean. That was like, for me, of all the people who could have played it, Rodigan was the one where I thought, if he plays it, I'm buzzing.
Yeah,
He emailed us about it and everything, saying like the things he said about it were just like, wow, for a guy to be saying that.
He's been there, done it, you know what I mean? He just doesn't seem sick, he's been
possibly
on the
the
show.
coolest guy in the world saying he likes your tune.
Yeah, definitely.
It's wicked.
So let's take it to the future now. What's the future for Dub Phizix?
I don't know. I've got the next thing will be a 12 on Samurai Music. That's another collab with Skeptical. 2 tunes. Me and Skeptical made the beats on both. One side is T-Man, who's a local guy. The other side is Sparks, who's another local guy. So they're both vocal tunes. That's out in July, I think.
Right.
And then, you know, think about writing an album. But then there's more stuff on Exit, stuff on Metalheads, there's stuff on more ingredient stuff, more Solar, probably more Critical. So there's a load more 12s and singles to come out. I think I need to think about an album now. So
I noticed that you're talking a bit more about vocals. Do you find that's where music needs to be now? Because I know a lot of artists are doing it now. A lot of producers are.
Yeah, working with, I don't think it's where it needs to be. It's just I'm surrounded by a lot of good vocalists. I'm pretty spoiled like that. Do you know what I mean?
I mean musically though, you know, for a listener's point of view though, because you know, even though drum and bass has always been drum and bass, you know, it's nice when you do get a vocalist or a female artist. I'm not saying it should be saturated, but
no,
you know, but if you get them good artists where you can bring through tunes like Marker and.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it needs it as such. Like, I mean, yeah, it definitely makes it more accessible to people who might not have been into the music in the first place. But then it also opens it up to that thing of, oh, this is underground music, this should stay as underground music. I mean,
Of course, the fine balance between commercial and underground.
I don't really think like that. I think, you know, if you support music, support it.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah.
you know, be happy to see it do well. You know what I mean? But obviously, not everybody thinks like that. It definitely makes it more accessible. But we're in an age now where, you know, it's getting drum and bass is played on mainstream radio. It's played, you know, it's getting a lot more Radio 1 airplay. So, you know, that the kind of people who listen to that are going to want to hear vocals more. Probably,
Yeah,
it's
true,
quite
yeah.
hard to get an instrumental tune on daytime radio.
So yeah, tell us a bit, what do you think about the music itself now? A bit like saying before, it's a bit more accessible to people and a lot more vocal. Do you find there's a lot more feeling within the music now, or do you think?
No, I think the feeling's always been there. I think it's like I say, it's just more accessible. I think whether people think that's a good or a bad thing is up to them.
It's up to
You know what
them,
I mean? I just personally, and most of my mates are MCs. I listen to a lot of music of MCs and rappers on it, hip hop, grime. So for me, it's just naturally what I'm going to make.
Of course.
But I don't think it needs to be there or it doesn't need to be there. But obviously, there's a lot related to having vocals, and it changes the music quite a bit. I think once you've got vocals in it, it's changed it for the better for me. Certainly, my music has made it. It's opened a lot of doors that maybe wouldn't have been opened if the vocals weren't on there.
So tell people where they can see, where they can grab all your music, they can tour dates, anything like that.
Yeah, you can get music if you go to. Let me think now. If you go to my website, it's www.dubphizix.com. Tour dates are all on the Facebook page, which is /Dub Phizix. I think this weekend I'm in Newcastle. Next weekend is Lisbon and Geneva.
Sick.
Getting about. Yeah, just to be honest, most of it is on my Facebook page. If you want to find out any information, there's links to everything on there, so you can find out.
Thank you, sir.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Respect.
Appreciate it.